All right, so the first topic, I saw this. All right. Now, I know you guys, a lot of you know me from finding me after I called out Aaron Fisher a number of months ago. But a lot of you may not know this that I started calling out Sil Abdul as well as Mikey Sutton, who has passed away, but Mikey Sutton and Geekosity. I called them out many, many times before I ever even heard about Aaron Fisher. Eh, Sil Abdul and myself actually go back a ways. I was on his show a number of times. He actually was on my show a couple times years ago, Bridging the Geekdoms when I was doing that podcast. And he made it seem like he knew what he was talking about. He made it seem like he had insider knowledge and all this kind of stuff. So I was like really latching on to what he was saying all the time and really trying to like pick his brain. Uh, there was a time the culture nerd and we had a lot of discussions, and I actually like the guys over the culture nerd. I still am and pretty cool with a couple people. I don't know if they're still attached to the culture nerd, but I'm still pretty cool with people who are attached to the culture nerd. But at the time, Sil Abdul was attached to them in a very small way. I'm not going to say he was part of the culture nerd. He wasn't, but he was kind of friends with them. But over time, I started to realize some things were not all as they seemed to be. So as time went on, I started to realize, man, this guy's a problem. So eventually, I decided like I'm going to start calling out some of these people, and Sil was one of the guys. It really started with Mikey Sutton and Geekosity. I really started calling them out because of all their bullshit. But then Sil Abdul, because he was so close with Geekosity and everything that they were doing, he just kind of got pulled into it. But he just doesn't stop. He doesn't stop making himself look like an idiot. So this post came up the other day that you're seeing right here. And first off, this post here is from Sil Abdul podcast, but he also has, his Twitter here, I guess. So he kind of reposted a post from Twitter or something like that on his threads, or I don't know. So basically, on one of his social medias, he goes, in a truly unprecedented move, Warner Brothers Discovery could possibly separate the DC brand as a separate company and take it public to determine its true value. So that is like an excerpt from an article right there. He then says, yes, this could be for a possible sale of the company. Now, if you look very closely, you can plainly see right here that that is him that posted this. But he then reposts this on another social site. I'm thinking it's probably Threads, maybe Instagram. I don't know. I don't really use Threads or Instagram too much. But he then questions potential DC for sale? Question mark, question mark, question mark. Like he's not just retweeting or reposting what he just said is a possibility. Ridiculous. So I did some quick investigating. I did some really, really quick investigating. And it was really easy to find. It wasn't hard to find. It was the Hollywood Reporter. The Hollywood Reporter posted an article called, and the title of it is "The Tycoon That May Decide the Fate of Warner Brothers Discovery in the Trump Era." And what this is it's an article that talks about how a man called John Malone. John Malone is kind of a businessman who goes in and he has the ability to help, guide companies, specifically Warner Brothers right now, in just deciding what they could do to get out of the hot water they're in. Because let's face it, Warner Brothers, they're struggling. AT&T mishandled Warner Brothers so badly that David Zaslav is coming in. He's done a pretty good job in getting through the danger they were in. They've made some successes with film, and they've done some things, but they're still having some trouble. They really are. So that's what this article was all about. What this John Malone is going to be able to do. Now, specifically, this DC part is a little bit further in this article, and in this article, I lost it. Where's it at here? There we go. It's down here. It states, as for breakup possibilities, Robert Routh, analyst at FNB Securities. Okay, this isn't even somebody at the Hollywood Reporter. This isn't somebody at Warner Brothers Discovery. This isn't John Malone himself. This is a random analyst at a place called FNB Securities. notes that Malone could push to seek to have them take DC Comics public as a separate entity via either a tracking stock or a regular IPO to highlight the true value of the Warner Brothers Discovery Library, as that would be the easiest way to do that. So essentially, they would put it as its own company to get an evaluation of how much DC is worth, and then they could potentially sell it off if it's worth enough to sell it off. That's a possibility. Sure, they could do that. But here's the thing, there's nothing in here that states that it's going to happen. So while Sil Abdul says, yes, this could be for a possible sale of the company, yes, that is absolutely what that would mean. There's nothing here stating that that's going to happen. There's nothing here stating that that is what John Malone is thinking. There's nothing here that's stating that's what Warner Brothers Discovery is thinking. And if we think about it logically, like step back a second and think about it logically, okay? Warner Brothers Discovery is looking for ways to make some quick money, quick cash. They got to get some quick cash here. That would take time to separate the entity, to sit back, to let it see what it's worth. That's going to take months, if not a year or more, to see what it's worth. That's too much time. Now, for something like selling off, CNN or TNT or TBS or some other subsidiaries that they have, which they have plenty of them, that on the other hand could be done relatively quickly. And some of that stuff, like CNN, is worth like, I don't know, $6 billion or something like that. They can make a pretty penny pretty quick if they sell that stuff off. So that's a possibility. So that's one thing to look at. But then if you look at the bigger picture, because I know we're DC here. We want to talk DC, not CNN and TBS and TNT. But let's look at the bigger picture with DC. Warner Brothers wants franchises. What do franchises do? They bring in revenue, consistent revenue. Successful franchises bring in consistent revenue. What are they doing right now? Well, they're relaunching their Harry Potter franchise, which was a huge, huge franchise for them in the early 2000s. And because it was so big, they thought, hey, what can we do to relaunch this and reinvigorate the fandom for us to get more money brought in here? Well, let's relaunch. Let's redo this. So they're rebooting it. Now, granted, I think it's a dumb way to make it a television series, but they think it's going to be profitable. They think that's the way to do it. That's fine. That's what we're going to do. DC is kind of in the same boat. DC is like, look, let's see if we can make money off this. The comics are doing well, but the comic book industry isn't huge. That's not where you're making all your money from an IP or a franchise. So let's not think about that. Animation does what animation does. Animation is what it is. You're going to make little amounts of money. So the big money is going to come from your films or your live action content. That's where it's going to come from the IP. So they're not going to sit there and say, well, let's sell off DC before we give this a real honest try. And that's what they're going to do. They're going to give the DCU a good honest try before they even really dive in and consider this. Now, that's not to say they won't spin it off while they're trying the DCU out. They may do that. They may spin it off in the midst of this. They may put out Superman, Supergirl, and a few other projects, and in the midst of that, still spin off DC into its own entity. That's very well possible. That doesn't mean they're going to sell it still. Now, let's look at the other side. If somebody buys DC, okay, let's look at this. People always say Universal, Netflix, or Disney, or something stupid like that. That's what they always say. What are they going to do? Now, let's say the DCU is successful and they sell it. They're not going to just end the DCU if it's successful. They're going to continue it. They're going to say, James Gunn, keep doing what you're doing. If it's not successful and they sell it, well, they're not going to get a lot of money for it, first of all, and they may not be able to sell it. Or if they do sell it, they're not going to say, well, let's go back to what wasn't successful 10 years ago. No, they're going to want to do their own thing. They're going to want to say, let's scratch everything, let's stop everything, halt everything, let's start fresh and new and move forward with our own thing. And that's what's going to happen. regardless of who buys it, regardless of if whoever does anything. So again, are they going to sell? Anytime soon? Unlikely. Is it a possibility? I will not sit here and say it isn't possible, because anything's possible. But nothing, excuse me, nothing in what was said in this article is stating that it's imminent. Nothing that was stated anywhere is stating that it's coming anytime soon at all. So again, when you look at these people online, people like Syllabdol, they're gonna say stuff like this just to get people's panties up in a bunch, start screaming the sky is falling, and then people are gonna go, see, we knew it. Warner Brothers is in so much trouble. They're gonna sell DC. That's what they're doing. Oh man, they're in so much trouble. They're in so much trouble. I've been saying, there goes James Gunn's job. He's screwed. Superman's canceled. Look at this. And that's what happens. And it's ridiculous. Just people need to calm down. Like, I wouldn't say people need to calm down. These people need to just shut the hell up, is what needs to happen. They just need to go away. That's really what really needs to happen. But again, that's what's going on. That's how it is. I just wanted to get that all out there. I wanted you all to hear it from me, because that's the truth. That's logically looking at it. That's not sitting there looking at it as a slant. That's not looking at it from the side of you want everything to fail. That's stepping back and saying, look, this is what the article says. This is what's going on in the real world. Is it a possibility? Absolutely. Is it imminent? No. That's what's going on. So I just wanted you guys to hear it and see it.